Corbolic V2. This is a super safe and effective natural anabolic. Not only is this product going to help you increase protein synthesis, which basically means muscle recovery and growth, it also may inhibit myostatin, which is a protein in your body that is known to inhibit muscle growth. This is a complete natural anabolic that works through multiple different pathways, has multiple trademarked ingredients. If you are a natural athlete looking for that edge, Corbolic V2 is what you need. Get yourself some.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Pro Fizzy Code.
There's another one, indeed. We have more than one.
I mean, God, like it seems like it's been a week since we've done this.
It's been so long.
It's weird, right? It's an odd feeling. So obviously, myself here, we have Christina, no last name, Castle, indeed, and Sarah Winstead with us today in place of Danica because Danica was too good for us.
Indeed. Or she just needed schedule flexibility, and we said, sorry, bro, not this week. No, that's untrue. I had planned this with Sarah. Steven just didn't know. We were going to have a girls' day, and then everything all of our schedules got moved around. But it works out perfectly because it has been a while since we've had Sarah on, and you were due for another visit with us. So we're excited. How is Sarah's transitioning away from prep right now? You're what, 2 weeks since your show?
Almost 3, yeah. And having more of the normal human moments. Still don't feel normal yet, but we're making strides in that direction. And so I'm really, really excited. Still hungry, still cold, still all the prep feels. Obviously I'm like maybe a half pound above stage weight average right now. So body's responding well, but it's like for my mental state, I don't need to see those numbers anymore. It's not helping my mental state, but I do love the transition. I love the switch. I love the fact that I closed that chapter with smile and a joy in my heart. Junior Nationals was a fantastic show. I did everything that I wanted to accomplish there as far as like for me, and have that show being my show, a celebration of my hard work. I brought my best physique. I nailed my posing to a T. Everything that I could control, I executed on 110% with a smile and everything like that. My husband was there, and it was just a great weekend. I had a client competing that day as well, and so it was just a great, wonderful weekend. And I don't even care that I got dead last. It doesn't bother me. Like, I don't need that validation at all. And I brought my best, and that continues to be and always will be my win of my entire career.
I do, however, need that validation. It is very important to me. And so in the same thought process, when you're like with joy and happiness in my heart, I was like, if I do something, it's with hate in my heart and it's with cynicism in my heart. And that's the fuel that gets this little body moving, you know?
So would you, if you knew, I had this question actually, I was doing a Peloton run, and one of them, they do like, would you rather throughout the thing to like keep your brain busy. And one of her questions was, if you had to be in a race every day for the rest of your life, you had to race, would you, and you're going to lose every single time for the rest of your life, would you rather get lapped at some point or lose by 2 seconds? And in all of those opportunities, like, you could still be improving, but you're always going to lose either by a huge amount or by 2 seconds. Which one would you rather do?
Yeah, see, I think, for at least for me, I think about like in terms of competing, since I got dead last at Junior Nationals, it really like solidified that decision as far as just like where my physique is at, where the sport is going. I'm like, I can't get leaner, I can't get denser right now. And I'm like, that solidified it. I think if I would have gotten second place or been on the cusp, like second or third, been on the cusp of the pro card, coveted pro card, then that would have made the decision to either do universe or stop a lot harder to make, because it's like you're close though. So for me, I'm like, I just want to bring my best. So I don't like getting lapped. I've been lapped all my life in swimming. Like, that's fine. But maybe I'll just get lapped. That way I know I'm still improving, but it's not like this constant, like, oh my gosh, you're so close. And the expectations are there. People have expectations of you and stuff, or you should have won, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was my thought process, is that like if I always had the person just 2 seconds in front of me, like it would push me, but it would also probably make the experience really irritating, like for the whole thing. Whereas, um, like if I'm just by myself and I'm improving either way and I don't have to watch their back the entire time, then I'd probably rather go that route. Because like you said, I think the most important part is doing it, like you did everything you did, that, like, or that you could have done. It wouldn't have changed anything.
So I would say, I think psychologically, being lapped every time is absolutely worse, because we all kind of have this like semi-inherent need for mastery on the things that we do. Right? We all want to be at least decent or good at what we're doing. Most of us don't enjoy doing things that we're really not great at. And so if you're close all the time, you're still in it, and you're still being, competitive. You still have that kind of mastery. You have that specificity for that thing. Like, you're good, right? I'm not just off. I'm good. I'm in it. And so I would say even more so, now you have somebody else out there where you're like, this mother always beats me. This fucking motherfucker. And so now you're like, okay, that's actually can a lot of times I think be a motivator for a lot of people too. So I would say I think that's most certainly, if you're trying to stay in something longer term, probably the way to go, if you were to do it. But it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, and I had like, Sarah, I really challenged you on that show, right? I was like, why? I
Yeah.
was like, do you feel like you're going to be better? Do you feel like it's going to put you in a position to like get the goal done or to get the pro card? And you're like, no, not really, but like,
Why
I'm
not?
going to do it anyways. And I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
Like, because there's a lot of people that will kind of give that same answer after the fact, and it almost comes off as like, okay,
I didn't really
okay.
care. Yeah.
It's like the Instagram post, like, we, uh, not the placing we were looking for, but, and it's like, I get it. You have to say something, but it just doesn't come off as the same kind of, like, just realism. But for you, and I know because we had that conversation before, you kind of went into it being like, yeah, fucking, like, this is just going to be the last show, and I'm just going to try and have fun with it and
Yeah.
enjoy it and make the best out of it. I don't have expectations to win, and if anything, I expect that I won't win, and that I'll be in that those positions, and I've already come to terms that I'm okay with that, because like the hard part is if you're on the other end of the spectrum, then that situation hits really hard, and even though you're trying to be very positive about it, like I've been in dead last before, there's never ever been a point in time where that felt good, right? So it always stings at least a bit. And it's like, that's okay. But if you have those realistic expectations and stuff going into it, it's not the same. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
And
It
so I think
definitely
that was
eases
cool.
the blow. For sure. As far as like getting moved out, because I was in first call outs because there's only 8 of us in the class. And so I was in, and then they moved me out and stuff like that. So yeah, in the moment I was just like, oh man, but then I kind of just like refocused as far as like, okay, control what I can control and still be proud of the fact that I'm up there against these girls that are fantastic. And yes, they, according to where the standard is, they're closer to the standard than I was that day. I can't control that. And so yeah, I definitely made that kind of decision for myself going into it. And that's what I talk a lot with my clients about as well, is that we need to have that kind of chat about what is your goal with this show? What is your goal with your season? And I made the decision before I even started prep. This was going to be my last season. I didn't know what show it was going to be, but as it got deeper and deeper, I was just like, okay, I know where the standard is. I know where bikini is going. I had to make my own peace with that, and that took some meltdowns, that took some crying, that took some me walking, taking my dog for a walk in the middle of nowhere and just being like, okay, we're just going to let this go. Because again, it's been 8+ years of my life dedicated to competing. I started in
Yeah.
2017, and that's a very long time. I swam for damn near 15 years. And so it's like those kinds of chapters coming to an end. I knew going into junior nationals, I want to go out the way I wanted to go out, because this is the sport of bodybuilding that we are giving ourselves to, but that's what I can control. And so, yeah. It made it a lot easier, but yes, it's still hard in the moment. I'm still competitive. I'm still living the lifestyle, but I think that it just made it a lot easier knowing up front and then being able to kind of just like refocus in the moment too.
So I think that's a good segue. Because what we are actually talking about today is like the fitness fads that we wish would stay dead.
Yeah.
You know, like the things that we don't think are actually that beneficial. We think probably, if anything, they're more harmful than good for people, and it really just it is the norm nowadays because of social media, and it's like you're either on fire or you're cold as ice, and like that's it. But this is one that I think it's kind of like a mindset, but people really put it out there to almost like a fad, like that you can outwork everything. Because I've seen you train, I've known you for years. I know how dedicated you are to your diet and your nutrition and all the rest of the stuff. And you work hard as hell. And so this idea that you can just inherently outwork every single person and that that's going to be enough, at least in the sport of bodybuilding or in our fitness endeavors, I think is one of those things that probably does more harm than good for a lot of people. And I get it, because it's a motivating thing, right? Like, if I work really hard, I can do anything. I can make it happen. I can be the best. And that's simply not true, right? No matter how hard I work, I'm probably not going to be the best astrophysicist in the world. It's never going to happen. I'm definitely not going to be the best swimmer. You know what I mean? Like, we all have our own strengths and stuff. And so some people just naturally are going to put on muscle easier than us. Their bone structure might be a little bit more visually appealing than ours. You know, how our muscles are originate and insert can be more beneficial for a rounder, fuller muscle belly. And it's like, okay, well, cool. Can I actually outwork this person and make it work? Maybe if they're really lazy and off, but I don't know many people that go to those more serious shows where you're spending a ton of money, a ton of time, and a lot of your life effort and value into that don't work their asses off also. Right. And so that's why it's like this weird thing to me where I'm like, I really wish that entire like mindset would to some degree die or be replaced by like working hard is great. You can still make progress and you can be better. You might have a chance to win, but like, you know, if I'm going into a tennis match and I have Joe Schmo, right, I have a chance. If Serena Williams shows up at my local tennis court, I'm getting fucking smoked. I was watching the video of her smoking a bunch of dudes that thought they could take her in a tennis match the other day, and just them getting wrecked nonstop, and I was just loving it. I was loving it. So that's where that one comes from.
Yeah, and I mean, but like, how do we combat that more, right? Because outside of just saying, let's not say that anymore. Let's not say, well, you know, we'll keep working or whatever. Because like that's a really hard conversation to talk to somebody and be like, listen, the reality is you're never going to be good at this sport, you know, like, and like nobody wants.
They'll be good. They'll be their version of good. Like that's what I tell my clients is like, bring
Right.
your best. That is
Right.
what you can control. I'd rather you work your hardest and work your ass off to be your version of your best and focus on that. Because again, like Steven said, we can't control who shows up. If Serena shows up, she shows up. You know, there's your winner. Like, you know, as soon as they walk out on stage, there's your winner, there's your overall. It's like I walked backstage, I was just like, yep, I'm me today. But focusing on bringing your best. That's what I focus on, especially with my first timers that are getting up there that may not be as lean, that may not be as dense, that may be just trying out the sport to see if they like it. I try to, because you all hear it. We all hear like, oh, I'm gonna crush the competition. I'm gonna go on this show, I'm gonna dominate, and they hear that from other people as well in the gym, their friends, their family. And so it's very hard to like unhear that as well. And so I try to refocus it on bringing their best because that's always the improvement. That's what we can control to a degree. Obviously, you can reach your genetic potential. I'm a natural athlete in an untested federation. Yes, I could have done the NPC natural, but it just didn't work out schedule wise with national shows and things like that this year. I want to see that side continue to grow, but I realized the deck is still stacked against me in that time too. But it takes zooming out and having a coach or someone behind you that's going to tell you how it is as well.
So
Yeah.
I would say even beyond that, like there's a lot of coaches out there that will give you the riz, right? They will just build you up. They will blow you up. They'll be like, yo, you're the best. Like you look so great, right? Like we're gonna do so well. and like inside they know that you're probably like still 10 pounds off of stage weight, and you're going to the show this weekend, and they'll still blow you up, or you're going to be the next pro, or you're going to be the next Miss Olympia, or you're going to be this, you're going to be that. um, and I think it is a sales tactic to some degree, because it makes you feel good as an athlete. If you tell me, man, like, you look fucking amazing, like, you're definitely going to win this show, you're going to do so well, people are going to notice you, and now, you know, you're going to start, it's going to build you up, and it's just like all this stuff. And so, like, now somebody that we are looking at in a position of authority, or of expertise in this realm, if they're being maybe dishonest or not quite honest or whatever, that it's very easy to start growing expectations and then have some real big disappointment come along with that. I am the worst when it comes to this, because it's like, I had a call with somebody yesterday, and they were like, yeah, I want to do my first show and this and that and the other thing. And, you know, I had a consult with this other person, and they said I need to, you know, take at least 6 months to build. And I was like, well, you're a natural athlete. 6 months isn't going to be a huge amount of time to build. You've never done this before. Like, you're not in a place where it's like you're not responding and stuff is bad. Like, my 2 cents would be like, maybe consider doing a show on a timeline that makes sense here, and not feeling like you have to put it off. Because what happens if you put in 3-4 years, or 2 years, or a year even, into building, and then get on stage and decide like, oh, this sucks, right? You didn't step it, you didn't put your toe in the water to test it, and then you just jumped in, and then you realize, oh shit, I'm in Norway and it's December, you know? So it's like, oops. And so I was like, yeah, you're probably not going to win an overall. You know, you do have a good base of muscle, but yes, your glutes still need to grow. But that's for like the national level stage and beyond. At the local level stage, like, there are going to be girls that have been lifting for 6 months that are probably going to be, that could be on stage. You know, and so, you know, that's not really a good sales pitch. Let's be real.
Right.
But at the end of the day, then at least I'm being realistic with them and saying, hey, you know what? Like, you could do that, but it might not make a ton of sense just to invest all of our life into this right out of the gate, to just go full bore. Because I think that's part of that same idea, right? Of I can outwork everything, and why I think that entire idea needs to kind of die off. Because then what happens also is it's not just like that psychological and emotional investment that come in. It also becomes like your time. How much time am I taking away from maybe things like my partner, my family, my kids, you know, my friends, other things I used to do. How much time am I taking away from those things? Again, maybe that's not always a bad thing, right? People who go from like, I was an alcoholic to now I'm in the gym 5-6 days a week. That's a good change, right? That's for the better. So, but what is that actually going to mean? And then what ends up happening is, because we're going full bore into it, as soon as somebody brings up, oh, well, maybe we should try this, or maybe we should add that, then that's no longer like this crazy thought, right? Because the hard line of, all right, this is what I'm willing to do, this is what I'm not willing to do. These things sound reasonable, these things don't sound reasonable. It gets blurred out because now we're just in this so deep, even if we've only been doing it for maybe, 5-6 months even. And I said that like, because, and it's happened a lot of times, but dude, I had somebody come to me, and it's happened multiple times, at like 18, 19, 20 years old, and their coaches have them on drugs. I'm like, dude, why? Like, you haven't even touched your full potential that you could achieve naturally.
Right.
Why be there? Like, why are you doing it? And maybe it's impatience or whatever, but I also think that this mindset, this approach also factors into that. Sacrifice to win, do whatever it takes. You can outwork everybody. Oh, okay, well, maybe we can't just outwork them. Now we got to add these other things in. And because we're so invested already, now we make decisions that we wouldn't have made before, and that maybe we won't be so happy about after. And that, again, not everybody is that way. Some people will be happy about those decisions later on. But I'll be honest, I think it's very hard to know whether or not you're going to be happy about those decisions when you're still a teenager and when you're in your early 20s. Because I didn't start even pulling my head out of my ass a little bit until I was like 28. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I feel like the big part of that comes down to, like, the only way to go about it is coaches having more honest conversations like from the get-go with things, and then leaning, like Sarah had said, on the like the conversations as you're going, where with like, this is the improvement that you've made with your physique, this is where we've built, this is where we've done those kinds of things, especially when it comes to physique based stuff. But I mean, I'll be honest, it's been hard for me, like since transitioning out of it, to have like with clients that are not completely bought in with, like, I mean, kind of like having the same conversation that you had with Sarah about the show, and like talking to people where, like, it's one thing if they want to do like a bucket list show, I'm all for that. But like you said, like somebody who's super young and they want to play around with this, and they're like, well, I just want to do it really hot and heavy for like 2 or 3 years. Oh, I've had this consult so many times. I just want to compete a lot for the next 2 or 3 years, because then after that, I'm going to get pregnant right away. So I'm going to be 30 in 3 years, and I want to get pregnant when I'm 30. So I want to compete a whole lot right now. And then I'll go into that in the best shape of my life. And I'm like, oh, honey, like we are going to cause all sorts of trouble. Like if we try to go through this up and down with thing, if you think you can control everything like that tightly with stuff. And I think that's where coaches can get away with things to a certain extent, where like the ones who are telling all of their competitors that they're going to win and they're the next star and they're going to get sponsorships and they're going to get this and that, they're probably also the same ones that are putting them on insane protocols with a whole bunch of shit, because they're trying to manipulate as much as they can and trying to control as much as they can and push it as fast as they can. And then they're going to be the same ones that have them on a meal plan with, 4 almonds and 3 cups of egg whites a day. And like, yeah, a lot of people can get super lean and look pretty jacked if you screw them over that fast. And like, so it's like, I feel like on the outside, the vibe is outwork it. I'm going to do as much as I can. But a lot of times what it ends up tied with is the same, I want this to be a sprint and not a marathon. And if I just work really, really hard for this short period of time, I'll get everything that I want out of it. And then they can cruise from there. When like it's not super maintainable. Like it's just not something that's usually going to happen. And for a vast majority of us who do not have an IFBB Pro card, and then being a model and being a supplement person, and like, unless that's exactly what you want to be doing with your life, at some point, I think it's smart for coaches to say something about like, how far are we going to run with this? And what's the goal? Why are we running with this far? Is it because you just enjoy seeing the improvements each year and you love that and like that kind of stuff? Because that's one thing. But then they need the conversation maybe of like, but know that because you're doing this every year, the progress we're going to make and the difference picture to picture is going to be negligible. Like we're probably not going to see huge things. And so, because you don't want to squash like the hard work thing, because I think honestly, that's a big part of a lot of people's problems, that they think they're working hard enough to outwork their own genetic predispositions or their own environmental factors, but they're not actually working even at like 60% of what they should be. And so I wouldn't want to like shut that down, but I think the realistic timelines is a big part of it too. And just whether or not the end goal, that pot of gold's at the end of the rainbow or not.
But I mean, I do think that, so here's the thing. The problem I think that this presents is that it's this very external kind of like carrot on the stick.
Yeah.
Right? So, how many people are like, oh, I want to look like Laura Lee, or I want to look like DJ, or I want to look like this person or that person. I'm like, the truth of the matter is you are always going to look like you to some degree. So it'll be a little bit more, a little bit less. So I'll never look like De Rasha. It doesn't matter what I do, right? I'll never look like Laura Lee. Doesn't matter what I do. For multiple reasons of those of you
But I mean,
have eyes.
like 5'2", right?
Oh yeah, no, I'm 5'1.5", and I'm like, I'm the same height as De Raja, and I'm like, yeah, I want her glutes, but I don't have her genetics, I don't have her insertion points, I don't have her natural ability to put on muscle mass and things like that, and so it's like that's okay. You know, that's okay with me. But it took, you know, again, we all were the deer in the headlights looking at the people and being like, I want to look like that. I think it took years of maturity in the sport to be able to see like, okay, I'm not going to look like her, but I can still look like the best version of me. I can still, you know, grow my glutes by 2 inches, which is what I did from 2023 to 2025. That's a measurable difference. There was more glute density, there was more glute fullness. I was leaner. Like those kind of measurable things I do like to highlight with clients as well, as far as like those are like the things that we do work hard for. Like you work hard to grow your glutes, you do those kinds of things, but we don't work so hard that we lose sight of like that end goal, or that it is a deterrent to other things. Like we don't lose sleep over it, or we don't like train every single day with team no rest day. Like those are also other things that I'm just like, they need to die as well. So
Right. But so, I mean, I think that's what I mean. Because
yeah.
when we say, oh, I can just outwork everybody else, then we get into this mindset of all I'm going to do is work, and what comes after that. And we've all seen it a million times is burnout. And when you're burnout, guess what? Now you're not doing anything. And we also see the other side of it, which is these people that are at the top of the game, right? They're at the top of the bodybuilding game. It's not that they don't work hard. Sure. That, of course. But like realistically, they've just been doing it in a way that's been manageable and maintainable for them for years after years after years. And so it's this culmination of what is actually realistic and manageable and maintainable work over time, and it's cumulative, right? And so when we're just getting into it, we're like, hell yeah, let's go hard. I've been working out 2 days a week. Let's go to 5 days a week or 6 days a week right away. And let's diet too. And let's do all this stuff. And then they get into it and they're like, oh man, I feel like ass all the time.
Right.
Like, what's going on? I don't want to keep doing this. And even it's like, well, I can push through for a little while. All right, cool. I'm glad we can push through for a little while. There's a time limit on how long I can tread water. How about you? You know?
Yeah. I
And
feel like that's a
so
lot of the challenge people too, like the 60 and 90 day challenges, as far as like some of the things that we see in the Facebook group and things that, again, not a bad thing for people to be getting 30 plus thousand steps a day for these 60 days, but also like, you know, thinking
I'm going to
ahead.
disagree with you. That's crazy.
Oh,
30,000 steps a day is fucking insane.
it
I
blows
got
me away.
25 at my highest, and I was doing 2 hours a day of cardio plus my normal dog walking. I'm like, I don't know how they're getting 35,000 steps a day.
No, I
That's
love them so much. Like my challenge people are my people, but I feel like I bring it up every time, whether it's in a live or a podcast or whatever. I literally don't know how they are finding the time with life to get so many steps done unless they're doing it all day during work. And this is where I think Steven is kind of going to go. So I hope I don't steal the steam too much, but like you can't do that for fucking ever, right? Like I'm out here doing like these, you know, double digit long runs or like 4 or 5 hour hikes and stuff. And I went and pulled up one of the days we went to did we go to a concert? We went and did something that night. So I had a big hike during the day. Oh no, we went to the baseball game. So then we had to walk like a mile from the parking and everything. I got back to my car, and that day with a 5 hour hike and then the game and all of that, and just being a mom, I hit 32,000 steps. And I was like, man, I'm fucking wrecked. And there's people doing this every single day. And it blows my mind. And like the concern would be, it's kind of like the whole outwork thing. How long are you going to be able to keep that up? Because what we've said before too is what you're doing to get this off and what you're doing to cause the change, you're going to need to do to like some semblance of that. And even if we were to lever back from 30,000 steps to 20,000 steps, that's still 10 miles a day. Like that's a shit ton of movement all the time. And so like, and I mean, if that's your jam, and you're eating a whole bunch of food and it's giving you more flexibility, then I get it. But like I'll talk to people who struggle getting 7,000 or 8,000 steps a day. And the in between is what blows my mind, right? Where like for some people it's very, very hard to exceed like 3,000 steps, and trying to get them to a higher number can be so difficult. And then there's other people who get, if they're doing 30,000 steps a day, let me tell you, and if you're listening, I say this with love, their relationship with activity and or food is a little fucked. Because like, and I say like, that's all of us who are into like a lot of these kinds of things in a very intense kind of way. Our relationship is a little weird with all of it, right? And so like, if you're somebody who's like, oh no, I can totally get that much. Okay, but what's your stress level on a day if you only got in 4,000? and you didn't get to your 30,000. Like, are you freaking out because you think everything's going to go to shit and you don't know how to rest? Like, I had a client who was like, well, I've been having a hard time getting my steps in. So I got on the treadmill last night at like 11:30 so I could walk for 20 minutes to get the last bit. And I'm like, oh, no, we don't do that. Like, go to bed.
I'm on the other end. Like, I'll be like, if somebody's getting ready for show or we're dieting hard and we're trying to push it, and like, yeah, I got busy throughout the day and I was low on steps, and so I had like 2,000 or 3,000 at the end of the day, and I just got on the treadmill to make up. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, that's fine. So you could do it a different day and average it out for the week. Or if you want to get on the treadmill and do it, just keep it really light, keep it a modest walk, watch some TV while, like, let it be something that would be similar to just a normal, like, walking around movement. So I actually don't mind that.
Sacrificing sleep?
It depends on, again, the person and what they're doing. Because if that person is used to 8 hours of sleep and they're going to lose, 20 minutes maybe? All right, that's probably not the end of the world. But if they're going to get 5 hours versus 7 hours, then that's a big deal. And then that's just where, like, which one is going to matter more. And then that's a different conversation, I think. But I try to be open about that, because otherwise they'll be like, oh, well, I didn't hit my steps, but I went to bed instead because I needed to get sleep. And I'm like, okay, but you're telling me you're sleeping 10 hours a night and you're waking up rested every day. And then and then we're not seeing progress, but we're not hitting, the goalposts. So like I said, there has to be, I think, some gray area there in terms of, like, sometimes not hitting the steps and doing extra stuff and going to bed is absolutely going to be the right answer. And other times, get your butt on the treadmill and go get some movement if you want to see the progress.
Right. So with that one, and I feel like it's a good segue into one that I would want to have die. The issue, I would say then, if somebody's that much short on their steps and say they have like a reasonable target of like 10K or something, right? So they're short by 20%. You kind of know that throughout the day. Like, that didn't sneak up on you where all of a sudden you look down and you're like, oh shit, I've only done half of my steps. You were probably kind of aware throughout the day, I should do that. And I mean, this morning, like, I needed to strip our couch and like wash the covers because the kids got them disgusting. But it's annoying to do. And like, it gets my heart rate up and I hate doing it and stuff. But like, that activity alone is like the kind of things where if I have a day where I don't have time for cardio, I don't have time to go lift or whatever, and I need activity, in between meetings, I will run around the house and do like the weird little stuff where you can kind of get them. And so I think having some sort of plan, even for days where there's no real plan, where like mine will just be very active in between meetings and desk time and stuff like that, move as much as I can. Having something that you're intending to do that keeps you at that baseline helps a whole lot so it doesn't sneak up on you. And so my thing that I would have die is the fucking like Instagram and YouTube workouts as like the only thing that we're working on, and then being confused about why we're not seeing progress happen, where we're not even sticking to like the same instructor, right? And I was talking to somebody about like even Peloton classes, and I'm a total convert. I used to give Peloton a whole lot of shit like 4 years ago, and then I got one. I get it. I love it. Even the lifting classes are a lot of fun. But I have clients who have used those and they just bounce around like, oh, I don't know, I'll do 20 minutes of a Peloton strength today. And then tomorrow, maybe I'll do 10 minutes of core. And they're doing different stuff. And then they're wondering why they don't see change happen. But they're not even doing, like, say somebody has a program, like a specific instructor has like an 8-week program where you could do that 3 times a week. That is going to be better, or at least sticking with that instructor who chooses certain movements and stuff is going to be better than if we're just going into YouTube, typing in 30-minute workout, woman or something, want big butt, and then doing the first thing that comes up and looks fun because we like the novelty of it, right? And I think like searching for that novelty or doing everything we can to avoid being bored is like something that's got to go.
Yeah. And maybe this is a good time for like Science with Steve to ask that question as far as like, is muscle confusion a real thing? Is muscle confusion beneficial?
We've done it. Like there is, your muscles don't have brains. They're connected to your brain, but you're not confusing your muscles.
Do they put
what was it? How many years ago did I go over like the proposed mechanisms of muscle growth for all the coaches when we were talking about training? And I was like, look, if you are designing training, you should be focused on these things, the current proponents of how we believe that muscle growth actually happens. And so, like, the idea is, and here's the hard part, because I've seen this over and over again too, right? People like, I remember I had a consult with someone, and they were like, yeah, well, they gave me these workouts and this, and I got some progress up front, and then I didn't see anything, and then I was really upset about it, and then they gave me extra free time, and then so I had another 6 months, and I didn't make any progress again. And I look at the workouts, and they're one, like, not good, awful, if you will. They were very much kind of what you're talking about, like, all right, cool, here's some banded things that we can do, and here's some this, and here's some that. And don't get me wrong, those things can absolutely help you be healthier. They can help you make some progress depending on where you're at. But once you've established a reasonable baseline, they are not going to be enough for most people to continue growing and making progress. And so it's like, great, there's novelty there, but they're switching your exercises up every, 2 weeks, every month. You're getting a completely different routine. So, like, maybe you were squatting before and you don't have anything that's even like a squatting movement now, right? Now you're doing burpees and HIIT cardio and, like, things for time. And so it's just something so completely different that, great, there's novelty there, but you're not actually, like, fulfilling the needs that you have to, like, make those proposed mechanisms of muscle growth actually happen and work. And that's the hard part. But they were also like, they wouldn't switch her total calories up. They would keep her at the same total calories, but they'd change her macro percentages up week to week. And I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Because at most, you're having a difference in some of the thermic effect of food, but we wouldn't expect for that to be enough to really have any kind of substantial change, right? Unless you're going from, I'm eating absolute processed food only, to I'm eating very clean. Then maybe we would see some change. And there's some studies out there to kind of validate that. I think Campbell just put out a post on the one that I love to talk about, which is where they compared two groups of people. One ate a more processed kind of like cheese sandwich things, and one ate a less processed cheese sandwich things. And the ones that ate the less processed options actually did lose some weight, whereas the ones that ate the more processed food lost less. And so it's like, okay, so there can be a difference there, absolutely. But just switching things up for novelty, like, there needs to be a reason. That's like the why trust the process, I think, is bullshit. Like, no, fuck that. I want to understand the process. Let me understand the process so that I can actually be able to give it to see how what you're trying to sell me smells, Like,
and if somebody's not willing to explain it, like, that's a huge red flag, because they probably don't have an explanation and they're just trying to keep you entertained.
and those things are fine, right? So, like, say I just want to be a little bit healthier. I want to move a little bit more. Maybe I want to feel a little bit better with my movements and my proprioception, or like balance and how I feel in space and those kind of things. It's like, well, great. Those things might be absolutely perfect for you then, if we really like that novelty, and that's where our, goal is at, and that's where our concern is at. But if you're like, well, I want to put on as much muscle as I can, and I want to deadlift this much, or I want to squat this X amounts of pounds, I'm like, okay, well, then we have to be a bit more intentional about what we're doing. And the novelty, if you do it, you're going to be giving something up or not making progress even in general.
Right.
And that's like this hard thing for a lot of people, because realistically, we have a lot, like, look at all the novelty that we have in the world. I can literally get a friggin' cup in any frickin' color I want. I can get one with Vegeta on it. I can get one with Goku on it. I can get one with Peppa Pig on it if I want, right? When I grew up, that wasn't necessarily the case. It's like, okay, cool, you got a cup. Oh, do you want the pink cup or do you want the green cup today, Steven? I was like, ooh, it's a special day. Can I get the one that changes colors when it gets cold with the ice? I'm like, yeah. But you know what I mean? So, like, now, with the vast amount of options that we have, you almost have to desensitize yourself a little bit to that expectation of things changing. It can be hard to really settle into the monotony of things almost to some degree.
Yeah, I think you can still find the novelty in the monotony, I think you can still find that a little bit as far as just like, but it just like when you get excited about like, you got one more rep this week than you did a few weeks ago. I know that seems like small, but when my client says that to me, I highlight that. I'm like, that's progression. That's
Yeah.
progress. That's your body adapting to a stimulus where it's getting stronger, it's getting better. And so, I try to do that for my clients, being like, that's where you find, the fun in training, the challenge in training. That's where you keep things quote unquote fresh. Is that, yeah, my plan has not changed in 6 to 8 months. I've changed a couple of exercises because of, my levers or my energy levels or availability at the gym. That's fine. But I think you can still find it. I think it's harder to find for people that are newer to training or newer to resistance training, or maybe just have the goal of moving more. But once you get deeper into it, you start, oh, I felt a great, the muscle working. I felt more of a squeeze this week, or I felt more of the mind muscle connection, or, veins were popping today or something like that as well. Like when people see that, I definitely try to highlight and make even more of a big deal out of that, because that will keep that fire lit for them to continue to put in that effort to see the quote unquote results that they may not think that are results, but are actually results.
And so let's take a moment to delineate, right? When I say, oh, they have this, like, think of it like a squat type movement. If I have a squat type movement, I can replace that with another squat type movement, something that kind of is still going to be similar enough in maybe how the movement is performed and the muscles that it's training. And so, like, it doesn't mean on that same thing that, like, you have to be on a program for 6 months. I'm normally like anywhere like typically 8 to 12 weeks, and I'll change things up. But maybe yes, we're still gonna squat, but maybe we'll change the leg press to like a walking lunge or something else. So again, they're similar enough to where you're still giving a fairly similar stimulus to that muscle and to the system, but I'm not going to replace squats with burpees,
Right.
and I'm not going to replace squats with handstand push-ups, right? Because it's not even close to the same thing. I'm also not going to replace, a heavy squat session if we're trying to gain strength and muscle with something like a jump rope and calisthenics session per se, because that would be counterproductive at that point. So there's still room for novelty and change in these things for sure, but it's like I'm staying in the neighborhood, right? I'm staying in the ballpark. I'm not making a 3 hour trip over to, what's 3 hours from me? I don't know, Miami or something, right? To go do something. I'm staying close to home for the most part, if that makes sense.
I think it goes back to finding more enjoyment in the process than just trying to get to the end as fast as possible with a lot of it. And because the switch up will be, oh, I just don't want to squat anymore, right? Like, I just don't want to do that. So can I do something different and that's going to help me, build up my muscles or whatever? Like, because a lot of times that's the goal. They want to build muscle, but they'll get bored with something. And it's like, okay, but like we could stop doing that, but like we might also see changes happen if we're just straight up not doing that anymore, if we don't replace that movement pattern at a similar level of stimulus, because that's the other thing too. Like we're gonna, like we might lose the ground that you gained with stuff. And so to a certain extent, like it's going to be different, right? If you have somebody who's just working out to be healthy and they're just exercising and challenging their body one way or another, that's different. But if we're talking about somebody where like a visible physique change is what they're going for, they have a body type in mind, they have a place they want to get, they say they are driven towards these goals, then I'm like, buckle in and get really good at feeling what happens if you push through your big toe and your pinky toe at the same time while you stand up from that deadlift. What happens if you imagine you're an elevator, like you're thinking about stuff differently while you're doing the movements and feeling different muscles turn on and stuff like that. I mean, shit, even with just running, like getting people to have a slight forward lean or figure out how to tuck their pelvis, and then all of a sudden they can feel their glutes turn on while they're running for the first time. Now they're more effective at that movement and things like that. The people who find success and who stick with it, and every time, no matter who we like get to have here with us and like talk about like their routines or how long they've been in all of this, we haven't yet spoken to anybody who was like, I usually do things for about 3 months at a time and then I switched up and try something brand new. And like that's how they got to where they wanted to be. It's
So side note real quick. I'm married, so anytime I'm running, my glutes are always engaged because anytime we go up the stairs and my wife is behind me, I have to be on high alert.
In case she's gonna poke you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unless she's gonna give me the good old prison hello.
Good
You
old
know?
prison hello.
So that's a
Exactly.
muscle adaptation, the stimulus that you built up over time, right?
Yes.
You know?
And now they have the endurance to get you up like 3 flights of stairs if needed.
Yes. Progressive overload for the win.
Or at least to sprint enough to get out of reach. Yeah.
A little hop. You got that better.
So let's make another delineation because keeping muscle that you've already made is actually much easier than gaining new muscle.
Mm-hmm.
So like in what you were saying, if your goal is strength and performance, which I know you're big on, so I think this is probably why I heard it this way and was like, okay, let's just give it the little nuance there. Is that like your strength absolutely can fall off quite a bit faster. Right. Normally, if I take a week and a half off from squatting, my squat's going to be off the next time I go in typically.
Yeah.
It's just not going to feel as good. I might not put up as much weight, but it will come back fairly quickly. That doesn't mean I lost muscle. And so like say we stop squatting and we replace it with a leg press. Yes, your squat and your performance in that is going to be lesser over time. Like that adaptation will change. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to lose muscle if I replace it with like a leg press or something else, where I was still doing enough in the gym for those same muscles to keep up with what I need.
No, I mean more like I've had a couple of consults lately with people, and I think this happens with like the ebb and flow of how the year goes with stuff, where people are starting to circle back if they were hot and heavy at the start of the year and then they got burnt out for like the spring. And then now they're like, okay, yeah, I kind of want to get my shit together. And a lot of it will be like, well, I started with a coach. I started a program. I was doing really well for like 3 to 6 months. And then XYZ happened. And so I didn't go to the gym for, really like 2 to 3 months. And like now I want to get back into it. And in that, like, I think we're going to have more adaptations than just like now we have to work our squat weight back up with stuff. That's where we're like, we didn't put the time in. That's very different than somebody who was lifting consistently for 10 years and then they took a 2-month break. People probably aren't going to notice, like it's not going to look any different. And so I think that timeline is in general something that we want to think it goes a lot faster because we have things like, now like Ozempic and stuff like that, which can be so incredible for a lot of people and can be, I'm so happy it's available. I have clients that are on it. Like there's very good uses with things, but it's also something that we're already seeing with like the compounding and the microdosing and the this and that, and people using it to just be like, well, I just don't want to think about food at all anymore. So I just inject this stuff that my doctor wouldn't give me, but this online pharmacy would. And so now I eat 7 almonds a day and, using it for that. And they're like, it's great. I never think about food. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do when you don't want to pay for it anymore?
Yeah, it's like, what is the diet after the diet? What's the plan after the plan? What are you going to do? Yeah, exactly. And that's what we know. We talk with people in the challenge about that a lot. It's sort of like, yeah, you might be getting 35,000 steps now. Let's grind now. It's like, what is the saying? Like if the process is unsustainable, the results are unsustainable. And so I'm like, I agree with that. And I just came out of contest prep because what I was doing in prep is not sustainable for my lifestyle. And you have to switch out of that or have a plan, like we were saying before too, as far as like how we're going to get there. And it's not going to be novelty. It's going to be consistency. It's going to be nailing those kinds of things day after day after day. But they don't think about that. They think about the here and now. And I think that's where that fad comes into play as far as like we want it to die, as far as like the complete and utter impatience around achieving a goal now and today or yesterday, when we need to look at the entire journey and embracing that kind of a journey as a journey and getting excited about those kinds of wonderful wins along the way.
So I think what I want to die is like the fitness influencer thing, which is like weird because it's like, I guess, are we kind of like fitness influencers? I'm not really popular, so I assume that I'm not.
I don't think we have enough Instagram followers.
Yeah. So it's like, but this is one of the things. I want the fitness influencer fad to die because instead of listening to people who maybe have spent their life studying this stuff, like Brett Contreras, Stu Phillips, Jeremy Lenicky, like those kinds of individuals. These are scientists that have spent their lives studying, how the human body responds to nutrition and to exercise, and who read, scientific studies and looking at the data. Those people aren't looked at all by the mass populace.
Right.
And so the people they're looking at are the people that are like, oh, well, this dude looks jacked as shit. Like, he must know what he's talking about. Like, the Liver King thing fucking killed me. It killed me. Everybody's like, no, he's natty. I was like, are you smoking crack? Are you fucking insane? That dude's not even close to natural. That dude's so gassed up. Like, I can literally smell diesel fumes when he sweats. Right? That's how gassed up he was. And then I guess after the fact now he's smoking, not crack, but I think it was meth is what he got arrested for.
Do you see he got arrested at like the Four Seasons in Austin?
Yeah.
Did we talk about that on here?
I don't know, but how do you get arrested at the Four Seasons? If you can afford the Four Seasons, like, you should be able to afford not to get arrested.
No, that was my favorite part. He got arrested because he was running around in like a coyote pelt, and he had said like something where he was going to attack Joe Rogan or like something like that.
He got arrested for death threats to Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and when they caught him, he was at the fucking, like, in the lobby of the Four Seasons, and I was like, oh my God, it made me think of, like, when people would talk about Bear Grylls going out and, like, doing his, like, survival stuff, but then he'd, like, stay in a hotel at night. And, like, if the Liver King is wearing his coyote pelt at the Four Seasons, having a cocktail, like, it doesn't go with the whole vibe. It doesn't.
I think they should have let him try. They should just make sure he didn't have any weapons and said, all right, have at it. Because Joe Rogan probably would have killed the dude.
Like, go for it, Joe. Protect
His security would have taken care of that.
Ooh.
Yeah, for sure. But, like, so it takes me back to this idea that, like, all right, so if he's juiced to the gills and he's just trying to sell you a bunch of shit, he's like, this is what's wrong with you. This is the thing. This is the one thing, the magic pill that's going to, like, how many magic pills do we have to try before we recognize that maybe there isn't just a magic pill?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's a plethora or a multitude of things that we need to address. And so I want the fitness influencer thing to just be dead. Right. Because so many of the people that are out there, they're just putting out stuff that sounds sensationalized. And so it's like, oh, cool, it's exciting. I love this. I hate it. Either way, I'm going to comment, or I'm going to watch, or I'm going to do something, like or subscribe, whatever. And it's like, the truth of the matter is, a lot of these people are giving out pretty shit-ass information.
Well, you talked about the sniff test earlier, and it blows my mind the mental gymnastics that people are willing to do to bypass the initial sniff test when it comes to stuff. And like, if somebody is telling you that all it takes, doctors won't tell you this one because they don't want you to be healthy, but all you have to do is buy my secret supplement that nobody else has figured out, and it's going to change your entire life. And if somehow you can be like, but why won't anyone give them any attention if they have the secrets? And like, you think you're the one who has to go and spend this money, and like, it's been gatekept all along. Like, obviously it's bullshit. You know what? Like, it's bullshit. You know how big of an industry it is to try and get body fat off of people or try to get people look muscular. Like, if anybody had this big, huge secret that was going to be a miracle, everybody would be talking about it. And it would be something where left and right, you would see it happening. We know how much money and how much time people are willing to put into this stuff. And so if somebody says like, oh, well, you just do this one workout, or it almost always comes down to a supplement, especially with the influencers. And now I feel like everybody is making their own. Everyone has their own electrolytes or greens drink or chewable creatine or like whatever this shit is, and
don't you hate on creatine gummies? Those things are convenient, and
I'm all for it.
I wish they were tasty, but the ones I got kind of taste like ass.
That's why yeah, exactly, the gummies taste disgusting. Okay, so that's why I'd rather just drink my grainy ass creatine. Like,
I mix it in my pre-workout. I drink it, and I don't taste anything. It's fine.
I mix it with my liquid IV, give it a good shake, Good to
It's
go.
just like I feel like one of my clients takes a lot of she'll know who she is. She might listen to this, but she has to track her gummies because her vitamins because it's 20 carbs worth of gummies.
Oh
That
shit.
is like every because she can't she I think it's something with her esophagus to where like she can't swallow the pills, and I'm like that's a legitimate reason. But if
Yeah.
you're just like I just want to eat candy all damn day and eat my gummies all damn day, and I'm just like then have two more rice cakes somewhere.
But that's
And,
like
and
sometimes that's what
but
it is. It's just candy. It's not even doing anything, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and here's what I'd say about like that, because I take the gummy vitamins because I'm a man child and I like them, and that's how I'm going to do it.
hey, if it gets you.
But like, if that's what you're going to do every single day, right? Because there's another idea that like you have to track absolutely everything and be perfect, and like that's another one that needs to die. But you know, if I do the same thing every day, if I take fish oils and my multivitamin gummies and my vitamin D gummies every single day, right? What, 20, 30 carbs maybe? Okay. But realistically, if I'm working with a coach and I'm dropping my calorie intake and I don't change those and I just keep them consistent every day, guess what? I'm still going to be making the same changes to whatever else that I am tracking and doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So regardless, I'm going to be able to make progress to some degree, right? Now, there's definitely the point like maybe if somebody's really at like bare bones bottom end, I'm like, man, your calories are just too low, and like, well, actually, I get like an extra 200 calories a day from all this stuff,
Or it's like I
but
just
I don't
started
track
all
it.
these vitamins and they're gummies.
Then I'm like, okay, well maybe my bare bones bottom end, it didn't include those things, so we're not really there yet, and maybe we do have a little bit more room to work with. But realistically, like most people, unless you're trying to get really crazy or you just have a super gnarly dieting history and don't respond, like that's I wouldn't even say that's the most necessary thing in the world. I would say most people don't need to track those things.
No, if they've always been there and you're
Yeah.
not going to change anything, like I've had people tell me halfway through a fat loss phase, they're like, oh shit, I never mentioned these. And I'm just like, then continue not telling me about them. Like just keep
Yeah.
taking them. It's not a big deal. Like I'm not going to have you suddenly start tracking those. I had a funny story with that stuff. The last time I was prepping, sleep got really shitty towards the end, and I think I had gotten sick too or something. But I started like a couple nights a week. I was taking a swig of like NyQuil to try and get through, and I was like 2 or 3 weeks out, and we were super aggressive, and I couldn't figure out why all of a sudden it seemed like everything was going to shit. And then I read the label on NyQuil. That shit's like 80 calories a serving. It was so much sugar, and I was like, oh shit. Like when your entire day is like 80 carbs, like now that's going to that's like a full 10% of your day that you're just not thinking about, you know? And but that was something that randomly got added in at that point. So then had to be like, hi Paul, I fucked up. I'm having a juice box of NyQuil apparently every day. But yeah, if it's something that's super consistent, then we don't have to stress about it too much.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing with her. I was just like, it's fine. It's until we hit like the sticking point of being like poverty macros and poverty calories. That's totally fine. We'll evaluate it then. Thank you for telling me. I'm glad you're getting your vitamins in. And I totally can definitely relate on we call them prep goggles. As far as like the second guessing of ourselves of being like, well, why isn't this working? Well, what did I change? Well, what did I add in? Is this little more of water going to make me not poop tomorrow? And I'm just like, I am so excited that I don't have to worry about that kind of shit anymore. Like, and I intentionally, I know, Stephen, one of the ones you said about it's like you tracking everything. I intentionally, because I know myself, OCD type A, perfectionist person. If it was like 100 grams of zucchini, I made sure it was 102 or 103. I was like, I am not going to tell myself that I have to be that fucking perfect because I know the overlap and the overflow into the rest of my life of what that's going to do to my brain as well over time for being this rigid for so long. And I'm just like, that's why I tell my clients, yes, perfection is a great almost like not even a goal that we need to be having either. I was like, I don't want to shoot for perfection. I want to shoot for progress. Maybe that's a fad that needs to stick around. It's like that progress over perfection.
Well,
Thoughts?
perfection doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The Greeks understood this well, right? They were very straightforward in terms of Greek philosophy and artists, where they were trying to get to something that was perfect, but knowing that actual perfection would never exist. And the thing that that drives me crazy about the I have to have it to a T. It can only be 100 exactly. It can only do this. Like that's fine if it doesn't bother you and it doesn't really create problems. But like, you know what's going to trigger you then? Is when I tell you that the FDA allows up to a 20% error ratio on all nutrition label information.
Yeah.
And so even if you think that it's perfect and you're getting this very much same amount, it's not.
Okay.
Like, you
Can you
cannot
that more?
control those small details.
So
Like,
you
was there a little bit more oil left in this bag? Was there a little bit more, a little bit less? Was this bag 16.8 ounces and this other one was 16.3 ounces? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like, there's just no way. Like, so maybe overall, yeah, that's 97% lean beef, but maybe your piece that you got was 94% or 95% because just that part of it had more of the fat content in there. And so, like, it just doesn't exist.
Right. And that's so I tell people all of that. Like, you guys get people asking about the difference with calories and macros on things like MyFitnessPal. That
Yeah.
will melt their brain.
Yeah, I hate that.
So what Steven's talking about is that it's not, I mean, the idea is there so that in variations of packaging and manufacturing and stuff like that, they're in the ballpark, right? And so because they recognize how difficult it would be to have everything be that perfect for this many people, they give a little bit of wiggle room. But so they have to tell the truth as far as they know regarding the macros about what they're providing. When it comes to the calories, they can whoops-a-daisy their numbers up to, it was like 25%. Okay. So in the world of, I mean, I wonder when they all came out, but I feel like I joke about us being like the slim fast generation or like the 100-calorie pack generation, where like all of our snacks started being 100 calories per bag or whatever. Do you think that if their calorie analysis came out and it said something was 120 calories, that they're going to be, and they have that wiggle room, that they're going to choose to market it that way? Or they'd be like, oh, well, that's fucking convenient. We can stay within the tolerance level and we can say it's 100 calories for the bag. And then you're going to have things change. This goes back to the why we don't want all of our foods to be coming from packages and stuff like that, because there's even more variations. But the way that you can combat this, and like the worst one, I think it was Arctic Zero or Halo Top. One of them, you could take their label and it would be so far off where it would say like 400 calories for the entire pint. It had to have been Halo then, because one wasn't Arctic Zero like 100 calories for a pint. Well,
Yeah,
so
I had
gross.
those days. Trust me.
Is that still in business?
Allegedly. You better fucking say allegedly right now, Christina.
What? Oh,
You
like I
better-
didn't eat
You
it?
better watch your ass. Right?
Oh,
Don't fuck with the food industry, dog.
right. And then all of a sudden they
Allegedly. So allegedly one of them was off.
allegedly one of their labels was egregiously off, and allegedly they would say that it was so many calories. But then if you add it up, so 4 calories for every carbohydrate, 4 calories for every gram of protein, and then 9 calories for every gram of fat. And if you take the total carbohydrates and you calculate that out, that's like what you would be using. But they can deduct things like sugar, alcohols, and fiber and shit like that from the calorie total,
Yes.
because it's like iffy on how we absorb them, which also is different, like person to person and like all that kind of stuff. But they just say, you know what, guys, we don't have to talk about that. We don't have to talk about those calories. And so if you log those macros, it's going to say, we'll say 500 calories, but on their thing, because they reduce the fiber and the sugar alcohols, it's only showing as 400. So then I'll have clients that are losing their mind because they're like, but wait, MyFitnessPal says that I'm like 300 calories under for the day, but I've hit my macros. So I just went ahead and ate those back, right? And I'm like, wait, like, no. So I always tell people, because they can do that, it just ignore, if you're tracking macros with a coach and you're using like flexible dieting, just don't even look at calories. It doesn't matter. Just like, you're already counting calories just in very specific buckets by counting carbs, fat, protein, and hopefully your fiber intake. But that's another way that you're going to drive yourself up the wall. If you're looking for absolute perfection and then you're wanting everything to line up perfectly, like that's where you're going to get very burnt out and like, fuck this, who can do this all the time? Because you can't. Even on your best day, you're still off. You just don't know it.
Yeah. And I have another one in relation to that needs to die as well, because I feel like that gets a lot of people in trouble that may be trying an extreme dieting style like a keto, because they're fans of net carbs.
Ugh.
And as far as net carbs need to die. I'm sorry. Like, because again, we don't know how our body processes it. There are trace calories in fiber that we absorb at different rates. We don't just poop it out. Sugar alcohols, we absorb some, we don't really know. But they're just like that 2 gram net carb bread. And I'm just like, yeah, it may taste fine. Sure, you can eat it. It might also freaking wreck your digestion, like
The
half
worst
those
stomach
fiber
aches.
wraps do. Like they're like, I think one of them had like 12 grams of fiber in one wrap, and I'm just like, yo,
The tortillas have,
yes.
they have like 25 grams of
I
fiber.
ate them, and I was like, never again.
Yeah, one time my son made two. He made himself bean burritos. That was even worse. And he used two of the high fiber wrats
You're
to make bean and tortillas.
compounding it.
Oh, Riker was probably like 8 or 9 years old when he did that, and he had the
He
worst
became
stomach
Clark
ache.
King.
I felt so
The
bad.
king of them all.
Yeah, no, that kind of stuff. And like, we have to know that can't be the best thing for us, right? Like, if your bread says that it's made of like magic, like, you probably want to be a bit concerned about what's
Yeah.
going on there.
It's like
I
those
don't
noodles
know. I
too.
like
The
Jack
miracle
Brady
noodles.
magic.
Ugh.
So the Jack Brady magic is one of my favorites. So I think that magic is great for me. He like does a lot of like tricks where he pulls stuff out of his butt, you know.
If
and then
again,
they
not the
disappear.
magical toast I want.
Yeah.
Like,
So, but here's the hard part: like people are out there telling you this is the best thing for you, and yeah, sure, maybe the net carbs things aren't the best thing for you, and maybe there are better choices out there for you. Because yes, a lot of people do have a hard time digesting that. Too much fiber, even in general, without sugar, alcohols, and other things, can be tough on digestion. But it's like, is it better than what I'm doing? Right? Is it better than me eating, zebra cakes and, cupcakes all day long because Little Debbie is my jam? It's like, yeah, it probably is. And for those of you that think I'm being judgmental, no, I eat both of those, okay? I enjoy them. They're fucking delicious. So, but it's like, it's 1000% a marketing scheme, which, like, for me kind of goes back to that same, like, fitness influency shit, where it's like, we're really just trying to sell you something. We're trying to make a point that's going to get you to say, oh, well, your product is better for me than the product that I'm using, or your product is better than this, or your product is better than that. It's me trying to convince you of something via marketing in some way, shape, or form. Just like the 0-calorie foods. If it's under 50 calories a serving, it can be listed as 0 calories. So spray butters, there's no calories in that, right? And most people overuse it, so they get a fairly decent amount of calories. The spray oils and cooking oils that you use, it's 0 calories, under 50 calories per serving for an eighth of a second of a spray. Nobody sprays for an eighth of a second to, get their frying pan coated so that their eggs don't stick in the morning, right? And so I think it's, and it's not, it's like dishonest marketing, but it's not quite dishonest marketing, right? We know that fiber calories aren't a full 4 calories, the same as like a processed carbohydrate or something else, but we definitely know that it's not 0 calories either. And so we don't know exactly how many that is. The bacteria in your large intestine most likely are going to break down a lot of fiber that is going to release calories and provide calorie intake there. That direct number and exactly what it is, we don't know. And it may even differ from person to person based on the bacteria in your large intestine. Okay. So, but like, that's fucking a lot. And everybody's like, well, I don't need to know all that bullshit. Like, just tell me which bread I'm supposed to eat. And like, that becomes the problem of this wanting simple fixes to everything. I get it. I like simple fixes. But I feel like a lot of these simple fixes aren't actually fixes, and they make a lot of fucking money off people.
right.
Have
you seen with the cereals where they can put them side by side and it'll have Cheerios and it'll say Cheerios plus protein or whatever. And if you look at the nutrition facts, it'll be the exact same thing. And the protein one costs you an extra $1 per box.
But not even that. Also, like, it's probably wheat protein anyway, so it's not a complete protein. So, like, for our purposes of muscle growth and talking about protein intake, it really doesn't even fit the bill.
Yeah, same thing with like the nut butters that say it's a good source of protein. And I'm just like, nut butters are not a protein source, people. If they do, they're putting heavily like processed protein inside of it. But it's like if your Jif peanut butter, it's a fat source. It's a crossover food that I tell my clients about. I'm like, yeah, you're going to get trace proteins from that. But if they're trying to sell you on the fact that this is a protein-based food, a little sly. I call it sly marketing. Not like improper or anything like that, but it's just sly.
I don't even think that's sly, because the majority of the calories in that food option for like a nut butter come from fats. Like that is the bulk of the calories that's coming just from fat intake there in that. So saying that, okay, this is a mostly macronutrient based fat food option, and then saying great option for protein, is it really? Uh, I would argue no. It's a great option if you need to get extra fats in your diet. If you're looking at protein options, you should be looking at things that are mostly protein. Just my 2 cents.
No, I agree. I try to tell my clients, like, yeah, it's not a protein source, it's a fat source. It's like they think also too, like that eating a cheese pizza from Domino's is going to be, so many carbs. I'm like, yes, it's definitely a decent amount of carbs depending upon what you choose, but the majority of the calories from that pizza are coming from fats, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so I think it's about that education piece as well, which we love to do, obviously, on the podcast and as coaches, as far as just like, I love when my clients ask me these kind of questions, or when we get those questions in live Q&As and the challenge of, I've heard this, or I've heard that. What do you think about this myth? Or, stuff like that as well that we commonly hear. Like my one that I always go back to with one of my old clients is like, he didn't eat carrots because his doctor said they had too much sugar in them. Carrots.
Fucking shoot me right in the head right now.
I was like,
Fucking put me out of my misery.
Oh, it's
Because
so
it's not that we break every single food down into glucose, which is sugar, at some point to utilize in the body.
right. So he told him to eat green beans and all green vegetables, no colors, other colors than just green. And I'm just like, missing out
It's
on
not
some
bad
vitamins.
it's not bad to eat more green vegetables.
No, it's not. But like, if that's he was already eating a good array, and then he went to his doctor, and his doctor told him not to eat those kinds of foods. He told him to only eat that. And so I'm just like, eh.
okay. So a fast last one to go off of
Yeah.
that, not of like information we probably don't need from doctors who don't understand that stuff. Stop going to Target and buying yourself fucking food sensitivity tests and then trying to pull all the foods out of your diet based off of something from Target. Because they, like, if you really think that you have a problem, you should probably go to the doctor and see. And a lot of the times these things are going to tell, I think every single person who takes one of those tests, it's going to tell you that you respond weird to tomatoes, to whey dairy, and to caffeine. It's like an automatic. Every single person is going to get it. And then I will hear from a client where they're like, well, my world is ending and I have to take all of this stuff out and I can't have these things anymore. And it doesn't make any sort of measurable change because it was just based off of this test that's not very effective. It's like going along with the, InBody sells scales at home now. I didn't even know that was a thing. You can do InBody scans at home.
They've had the little BIA home scales forever.
I didn't know. I was looking at one of them this morning because my Whoop was trying to sell me a scale that would attach to the app, and it was $350, which is bonkers. And so I was looking at the other ones that they had, and I saw that InBody was there. And I feel like the InBody tests go along with like the ones that they'll try to do at home with stuff where people will try and get this information in a pretty like an easy source, right? Being able to just go to Target instead of having to make a doctor's appointment, or doing an InBody scan at your gym after a workout versus going and getting a DEXA or something like that. They seem like good options, but I feel like a vast majority of the time they give you crazy data that is only for like that one possible second, and that isn't usually able to be replicated, and then just stresses people out a whole lot. Like if you're doing an InBody scan after your workout at 12:30 in the afternoon and you had your coffee and your breakfast and then you went and did cardio and lifted and you drank your water and you're wearing all your clothes and you stand on that scale, it's going to be a very, very different answer than if you had gotten on it that morning and done that. And so people will be like, oh my God, over the last 8 weeks, my body fat percentage has gone up 4% and I lost 3 pounds of muscle. And I'll have their information where I'm like, but your measurements haven't changed at all and the scale stayed pretty much the same, or eating, it doesn't make any sense. And like they're like, oh well, I always do it after work, after my workout, and that day I didn't have anything to eat until I got home from the gym. Like, oh well, That's why with a lot of that stuff. So actually, I'm just attacking everything that's a quick fix today. But those two, like, just save your money. If you like, you don't have a doctor ordering them, then don't do them. Save your money.
Well, I mean, they're kind of a catch-22. So when we talk about all these fitness devices, it's a little bit of a catch-22 because one, on one hand, it is great that we have things that are going to give us a little bit more data, give us a little bit more insight, and maybe help us to be a little bit more dialed in on the things that matter to help us reach goals or to make progress towards things. But on the other hand, a lot of them, if you want them to be accurate, uh, they have specific testing criterion, right? Like if you're going to do body composition testing, it needs to be first thing in the morning, fasted, like before you've had anything to eat or drink. You know, that's what fasted means. I know, whatever, Stephen. But like, and it needs to be consistent. And so we can do it over time under the same conditions and see change and improvement. But what oftentimes will happen is we'll just get on the scale at the end of the day, or we'll get on the scale in the middle of the day on another day, or the beginning of the day. And then we get all these readings that are way off. And it's like, well, if we understand how that works, there's a reason for that. Um, and then along with that, these things are all like population data averages, right? And every single body composition analysis has some error measurement built into it. And the more expensive ones are going to have less error range, and the less expensive ones are going to have more error range, which means they may be off up to like 7.5% on some of them, right? So you might get 7% over what you're actually at one day, and then another day get like 3% under, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Same with like my watch. Oh, you burned this many calories. Well, it's just estimating that you burned that many calories. It can't really tell you that unless it's doing an oxygen exchange and CO2 exchange and putting the mask on you, and like those things are very time consuming, difficult, and like hard to really get down to a T. And there can be a good amount of variation, right? The bell curve is a bell curve for a reason. And so, yes, that may work for a lot of people and be a good thing. For other people, it could be way the hell off. And so, you know, it's one of those things where it's like you have to take a lot of these things with a grain of salt. And that's where that kind of marketing comes back into, like, oh, this thing's going to tell you exactly how many calories you burned in your workout. And I was like, well, it really can't. It can estimate how many calories it thinks you burned in your workout, but you weren't in the lab, you weren't doing the gas exchange, and without your personal data there to kind of have an idea, I mean, maybe it's close, maybe it's further away. Like, we don't have a great answer. And so those things are definitely closer than they used to be, and those things all help. But like, if I was doing body composition analysis in school, and we were using the correct calipers that are spring loaded, and we were marking our measurement sites, and we had hundreds, if not thousands, of practices doing it, and we would all have little Sharpie markers, points on us, so we had the same site every single time. We still had to individually then take, was it a 3 site, was it a 7 site, you know, was it this many sites, and then go in and then use the specific equation for the person's ethnicity and race, and then put their data into that, and then run the equations. So it's just it, and this is like the super annoying part that's not sexy and it's not exciting. You're like, well, that's a fucking lot, Steven.
Right.
Like that's not exciting, and that doesn't make me feel good about any of this stuff. And you're like, yeah, I know I'm the fucking party pooper. You know, I'm the Dingleberry Dan over here, and it's like, yeah, right. It's because I'm full of shit, or because I'm pooping on the party. But it's like, okay, well, cool. It's not that I want to, you know, blow out the candles on your birthday cake. It's more so that like I want you to realize like those might not necessarily be candles you're blowing out on your birthday cake, right? It might not be quite what you think it is, and so I don't want you to invest this massive amount of emotion and time and energy into something that may not be serving you well.
Yeah, and then and allowing that data to fully dictate your actions or your plan going forward, getting lost in the weeds. I think it can be very overwhelming. I think it can definitely be helpful. Obviously, there's a double-edged sword there as far as like what data you actually gain and then what you actually use. And that's why a lot of my clients, I'm sure we all have clients that have the Aura rings and things like that as well that track like recovery scores, sleep scores, things like that. And so I think that can be a useful tool as far as like, okay, if I wake up in the morning and I feel like dog trash, is my Aura Ring aligning with that? As far as like, I'd rather know how I feel first and then maybe even use the data on the back end to reinforce or support or not support, in some instances. As far as like, I feel great, but my Aura Ring says no. And so I think it is about realizing and maybe zooming out as far as like the data and not letting it dictate our actions. But I think people sometimes do because maybe that is what they've been fed through marketing or seen their fitness influencer using. They do get trapped in that as far as like being completely reliable. This says I burn 875 calories in one workout, not 876, but 875 every single day. And I'm like, it's a great average and a great starting point to inform us, but and using it as a jumping off point for the future.
Yeah, they help with trends and stuff, but I feel like a lot of people aren't prepared to want to look at trends. Or it goes back to the timing, right? That you have to build up the data then to see what the trends look like. And I know when I got my Whoop, it was like useless for the first month. It wouldn't really tell me anything when I would open it because it was like, I don't know, this is only the second Tuesday I've known you. And like it's trying to come up with information. And so all of that stuff can be really fun and it can be super helpful if you don't let it crush you. And that's where like I think you have to be in the right headspace for something like that. It was like when glucose monitors, all of a sudden everybody had a continuous glucose monitor. And it's like, but did you do the information to learn about what a natural response after a meal is, or are you just shitting yourself because you saw your numbers go a little crazy for a minute? Like, and where that's a normal thing and you don't have a problem and you shouldn't cut all carbs out of your diet, keep watching it, it'll come back down. And so it's like you can get these tools, but then you should also do the due diligence to understand how to use them if we're going to jump into that and not just have it be, I have all this cool information, but it's doing nothing for me because I just wanted it to tell me my story instead of learning how to read the story.
Absolutely.
What do you
not?
With?
We don't read. This is my one-edged sword. It's not double-sided, like Sarah was talking about. All I can do is cut calories.
I was wondering. I was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I said sword." That's what it was.
Chopstick, and I was like, "Where did you just get this?"
It's a great back scratcher too. So, and even like my bald head, sometimes like I get like itchy on the back of it.
All right, weirdo.
It's really good.
You've been hanging out with too many cats.
See, so this is actually great because you see, when we feel one another's hatred and anger, like things abound, right? Ideas abound. Like fuck this, rage. But if we keep going, because we're like at almost an hour and a half.
I know we have new recording software, and I really like that it tells us how long we've been recording. This makes me happy.
Yes. So if everything sucks when you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it, it's my fault because this was my idea. But hopefully, what it will be doing is giving everybody a better picture quality, hopefully better audio quality, and allowing us to hopefully put out a better product for you guys. So for those of you that don't know, there's a lot of things that we want to be continuing to improve and put out quality stuff for you guys. So this is part of us trying to do that. So bear with us if it's not quite perfect yet. But let's put the rest of them on pause, time out. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next time on the Pro Physique Code.
So confident. Yes. If you have more that you hate or you have questions about, put them in the comments for me so I have people to
talk to. We can do a part 2.
Yeah.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Duh.
Duh.